Woohoo! Good
Hi,
morning. Good
good
morning. How you
morning.
doing?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm doing good. This is going to be kind of a girl show, so this will be
Mm,
interesting.
I'm excited
S-
about it.
So this is Sharon. I've never actually had a podcast with you before, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, I
And
was really looking forward to it. Nice to
yeah, it'll
meet
be fun.
you.
It'll be fun. And so this is it. Just to document our podcast. This is Saturday, January 17th, 2026, which is so weird. I know we're already halfway through January. What is
Oh,
happening?
oh my gosh. And I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but 2026 started off with a bang. Like
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
no
Yep.
time for anything. I'm late for everything because I've got so much to do and it seems like such a compressed amount of time. So
I know. I know. I try to like prepare for January like during the slow period of the holidays a little if I can, but it's crazy. This is a crazy time. This is tax season, so yeah,
yeah,
it's
it is.
crazy. But and just let us know how you do. Well, let's get a DeLorean, and then we can write off. Can we
Exactly.
write off the DeLorean? Some sort of
Oh, that would be great.
Back to the Future, what have you. But yeah. Anyway, so how are you? How was your week? Anything exciting that you want to talk about besides just to kind of warm us up?
Okay. I am great. My week
Mhm.
was really good.
Yeah.
I have a podcast called Holy Shitballs that we do on Rhode Island Broadcasting. And this week we interviewed a nuclear physicist, which I
That's
never
so
thought I would
cool.
say that sentence out loud in life.
That's really cool.
Yeah, he was a
Oh
really
wow.
interesting individual.
Well, that's
Very,
cool.
very, very knowledgeable, of course. So yeah,
Wow.
that was the highlight of my week. And what about you, Lena? How are you and how was your week?
I'm very boring this week, but that's okay. I'm in a place where I like the boring kind of. Oh, this we're gonna have some fun jokes by Ron. He
Yeah.
split the atom on her show. Um, yeah, just trying to adjust in this area anyway. We went from like a really pretty seasonable, not seasonable. That's not true. But we went through a really good temperature change for a little while, like 50 something for us, which is great.
Yeah.
So it was almost like summer, like around here anyway. Guys are like, I'm on my motorcycle. This is it. They immediately, everybody's in shorts because to us, it's usually like 20 degrees. And so,
20
towards the end of
degrees.
the week, we dropped down into the 20s. And yesterday was like ridiculously windy and chilly and blustery and but it's that time of year. So it does. I have a wood stove, so I absolutely love using it. And so I look forward to using my wood stove when it gets cold. I mean, I use it anyway, but whenever it gets really cold, it does a good job, and so I love it. So
Where
that's
are you located, Lena?
I'm up in Rhode Island. Ron and I are in the same
Oh,
area.
okay, beautiful. But
Yep.
beautiful but damp. So when it does get colder, it's like bone
Yeah.
chill, right?
But we always have a decent amount of humidity up here, so and that's fine. We're used to it, but there's that little break. I don't know if we really should have it. That little break of temperature where it kind of gets into the 50s, everybody gets really excited, you know. And then we go back to the 20s and everybody gets depressed again. So I'm not sure if sometimes that like upward temperature is good for us because it just reminds us. It did. It felt like summer. It was almost mid 50s, which for us in January is not at all the typical temperature, but that's okay.
I've got
Um,
a I'll
yeah.
go 55 Fahrenheit to Celsius and see what that is.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I don't
12
know what.
degrees, yeah,
Yep.
12 degrees Celsius. So, yeah.
It's yeah. Shorts and a t-shirt. Yeah, I mean it's kind of really nice. You can open the windows for a little bit, get some fresh air, that kind of thing. But and other than that, I just had my normal week. I didn't do anything exciting. But what I will, well, I will, we'll go into your first story because I'm wondering if our stories are going to intersect today.
I was wondering that too when I saw your topics. I was like, "Ooh,
But
these are
it might
really
be
good."
kind of cool. I mean, so,
Yeah,
but in my best Ira impersonation, here's what we want you to know today. Sharon, take it away.
thank you. Okay, so I was, hobby week this week on Rhode Island Broadcasting.
Mhm.
And so I was thinking last night about crime solving. These people who do, I don't know if you've watched Only Murders in the Building with,
I have not. I have a commitment issue. It's such a I know there's a couple of seasons in, so I'm like,
Yeah.
when do I I know I'm gonna binge it, so it's supposed to be really good though, I've heard.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
It's good. I like it because it's funny and it's humorous, like,
Mhm.
very lighthearted, so I like that.
Yep.
And around the topic of murder, it's hard to make that lighthearted without being offensive, right? So they do a really good job, a very good job of it.
Who doesn't love Steve Martin? I mean, I'm sure he
Oh my
oh,
god.
him and
And
Martin Short. I'm sure
Martin
they make
Short,
it yeah.
oh, yeah, yeah, so good. But anyway, so I started thinking about the show and I started thinking, there's actually people out there who do this
Mhm.
as a hobby. Like, they find it invigorating and exciting, and it's good because they get to use their cognitive abilities because
Mhm.
they're following, trying to detect a pattern, and they're using their critical thinking skills.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I thought it was fascinating that people do this. So and it usually starts out pretty innocent. They think, okay, so there's this child or this person who's been missing for all these years. How come they haven't solved it yet? And so they start going back and talking to other people about it. And before
Mhm.
you know it, there's two or three of them working on this what they call a cold case that hasn't been solved for a number of years.
Right.
And yeah, so they have a cork board.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have something, and you've gotta have your string, your yarn, and all that fun stuff, so you can connect the dots, like, right on the
Absolutely.
the ones that I'm always gonna have an example of everything, right? So I don't mean to
Okay.
interject, but
No, no, you go
one
ahead.
of one of the most favorite of not favorite because it was an awful thing that happened, but it was really good detective work was, a documentary called The Keepers, and I'm not sure if you've seen that.
No, I haven't.
If you have a chance to see it, it was basically about a nun that was murdered
Oh,
years and years and years ago, and it's related. It goes on all into the Catholic Church and about a bunch of other stuff. But there were some students that there was a Catholic school in Baltimore, and there were some students that loved this particular nun. She was this woman that they all looked up to, and there was this horrible murder, and so they all decided, well, why isn't anybody? What is happening here? Why isn't anybody looking into this? Like, this is a terrible thing.
mhm.
And what they find out is like unbelievable, but they do figure it out. And it turns into, yes, the best one. Yes, like with a little humor in because it isn't really what they
Ron is
find
on
out
his
is
page
not
here.
good. And goes into my whole what is happening with children in the world thing. But yeah, it's very good. And it's just like a bunch of they're in their 50s, women that went to school and she was their
Oh,
teacher
wow. Okay.
and they loved her so much and they wanted to see the crime solved. And at some point they just all got back together and sat down with everything that they could find.
That's
And
beautiful.
it did turn into where they solved the case, and like I said, some other people got implicated that should have been, that almost got away with it and all that kind of stuff. But it's a really good documentary, as far as people going, "Hey, why are the authorities not doing anything here?"
Exactly.
So
Why does this case not deserve to be looked at or solved?
exactly,
We all need
and
some, yeah, they needed
a
some
lot of times it's
resolution.
because somebody in the police department didn't want it to be solved. I mean,
Mhm.
you watch enough true
Mhm.
crime, you do see a lot of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that just
No,
made me
that's
think of that.
good.
Yeah.
Absolutely, at any time, I love it.
Yes,
So
and
these
yes, go
Mhm.
ahead.
No,
I'm
no.
sorry.
These crime-solving hobbyists are referred to as web sleuths, right?
Mhm,
Um, and so I started thinking about, are there any organizations out there? Like, what kind of a community do these people belong to?
mhm,
Because we know what they do. We
right.
don't necessarily know how they do it, except for their cork board, their string, and their wool.
Mhm, yeah, true.
So they often participate in forums and social media groups dedicated to crime solving.
Yep.
So they share their findings, their theories, and about cold cases, about missing persons, and so they actually combine
Mhm,
and share resources. So
which is
someone
cool.
over, yeah, I
Yes,
think
it's
it's
pretty cool.
absolutely amazing. It's grown significantly, apparently, and individuals from diverse backgrounds, and they sometimes outpace the law enforcement officials. So they
Yeah,
are in it. But I mean, the law enforcement officials are dealing with how many crimes, right? And after 48 hours, I think they
yeah.
kind of it goes on the back because they've got, 50 more that's piled up in that 48
Yep.
hours. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really, and podcasting. This is the other thing I looked into because there's so many different podcastings out there or podcasts out there.
Hey, Sandy, how are you? Yeah, yeah. Podcasts are. I don't know. Somebody said to me, why don't you do a crime? You love it." And I'm like, "Do you have any idea how many true crime podcasts? Like, it's like you can't even if
Oh,
you sat down for a day and tried to find them all, you like wouldn't be able to do it. Like that's
no.
how many are out there. It's crazy.
They say the two most, involved ones are Serial
Hmm.
and Up and Vanished, and they draw public attention to unresolved cases and, in some instances, unearthing new information that has reignited official investigations. So those 2,
Yep.
it's called
Yeah.
one is called Serial and the other one's called Up and Vanished.
Wow.
So
I
but
didn't know
there's
they were
other ones,
categorized like that. Yeah, that's pretty
yeah,
cool.
it's crazy. It is a community, it is a movement, and it's wonderful. It is
Yep.
wonderful because sometimes the police force is overburdened and they just don't have the
That's what I was
resources.
gonna say. I think a lot of these days, a lot of staff they're not able to take care of everything that's going on at once. And so
Yes,
there's only so many people they can put on a case.
exactly.
And so I mean, there's good and bad to it, obviously. It's real good for people to be looking for details that the police don't have like the manpower to deal with.
Mhm.
However, sometimes people go a little nuts with their conspiracy theories and go and kind of steer things the wrong way. That also happens, but yeah, it's a weird time that we live in. I mean, it's not. I think it's weird because I'm as the Gen Xer, like we just didn't grow up with all this, so
No, we didn't. We did not.
it's probably not unusual. It's just that it's so strange for us because we grew up with. I mean, we grew up with missing people that we grew up with a milk carton
I was
and,
just gonna say there
you
are their
know,
face so you'd be sitting eating a bowl of cereal and there'd be a milk carton on the table and there'd have
yeah,
somebody's face on it that was missing and we'd be like, "Oh, okay." You know,
yeah, it's
keep your eye open for Sally Brown
I
because
just,
she's
I
out there
think
somewhere.
I was just talking to somebody the other day about, Amber Hagerman and the Amber Alert and how that started,
Yeah.
and how, like, there were just kids that went missing when we were younger that just it was just a known thing that, like, it was probably, like, they were never gonna be found. We
Yes.
we just had no I can't explain it, but we just grew up in so much mystery and what have you, that's and so much of that has been solved and taken care of, and yeah.
The cows that are missing are on our dinner tables, Ron.
Yeah, there we go. That's where they are.
For you
Nobody knows
listening on the
they're not
radio,
missing. They're
yeah,
not really
for you
missing.
missing on the radio, Ron wanted to know if they post missing cows pictures
Yeah,
on the milk cartons.
and it's like, "No, no," but they put cow I do remember them putting cows on milk cartons, but, just as a, "Hey, this is the best milk in the world, and here's a cow to prove it."
Exactly.
But no,
They're
those
no
cows were not missing. We knew where they went. Well, we know where they went now. But yeah, it's kinda cool. But anyway, I didn't mean to I keep interrupting,
No,
I'm
that's okay.
sorry,
No, I don't
because this
mind.
is the thing I follow, so
That's a co-host. It's a co-host situation, so this is great. I love your,
yeah.
information. That's awesome. So just to wrap it up, there are
Yep.
Facebook groups, there are Twitter threads, Reddit communities, and they're all dedicated to solving unsolved crimes. And I think that's fantastic. Keep up the great work. If anybody out there is listening who is part of these communities, I love it. That is awesome. Keep it up.
Plus, yeah, give us some let us know if there's
Yeah.
anything that you got involved in or anything that you have been privy to and, that kind of thing. Uh, I don't know if we need a true crime show. Like I said, it seems like there's just so much of it out there that, like, it would
Yeah.
just get lost.
Uh-huh.
It would I mean, I guess it could happen. We don't have one on the do we have one on this channel? I'm surprised we don't. I thought we
No,
did. No?
no.
What? I thought we had everything on this channel.
Not true crime.
What?
Not yet, Lena.
Run, get on that.
I
Well,
think that's what he's hinting at, Lena.
it's definitely something we can do. I have enough stories to bring to the forefront to do something, even if they're not active cases. There's so many that I'm fascinated with. That's definitely something we could do. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Yeah, so it sounds like as we go into the show that this is going to be a hinge point. Sounds like this is going to be related to what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Not exactly the same, but very close to it, and a more broad whatever you want to call it, description of that kind of stuff. But so you are watching going on daily. This is our typical Saturday morning, getting our coffee and getting into it. You want to be sure to find us on pretty much everywhere. But let me start from the beginning. You are watching us live right now, right? You can watch us on Kick. You can watch us on YouTube, and you can watch us on Rumble Live video. At Rhode Island Broadcasting. You can watch us on Twitch at Rhode Island _ and it's at, I'm sorry, RI _ broadcasting. I'm sorry. I'm new at this and I don't do this all the time.
You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
You can catch us live on X or Twitter or whichever thing you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it.
We don't know yet. It's bipolar. We're not sure. At Broadcasting RI.
It's experiencing an identity crisis.
I know it really does have one. So you can listen to us live audio starting with Spotify and then Red Circle. That's TuneIn and iHeartRadio, and that's at RI Broadcasting. And then our social media, which is off the chain. We have a ton of social media, right? So let's start at the beginning. We have MeWe, we have TikTok, we have LinkedIn, we have Blue Sky, we have Parler, we have Space Hey, Gab, and that's all at RI Broadcasting. Then over there on the other end, underneath Sharon, there we have Twitter and X, the we don't know what it's called thing, and that's also it's the same thing. You could listen to us or watch us there at whoops, you went too fast. It's okay. At
Broadcasting.
I got it. At Broadcasting RI, and then we also have a Patreon. We have our Patreon. I forgot to mention that if I didn't earlier, that's at RI Broadcasting, and that's where you can find all our merchandise. I don't have a Going On Daily mug, but I guess I need to get one.
Makes coffee taste better. I'm not gonna lie.
Every time somebody picks up their coffee cup and it says Going On Daily, I'm like, where's my? I don't have that. I feel left out. So I have some FOMO going on there. And then on Facebook, we have Going On Daily Morning Show at Facebook, and there's a long story going on here, but add and share that as much as you can so that we can start broadcasting live there. We would love that. Our website is rhodeislandbroadcasting.net, and that's where everything is, right? That's where all of our social media is, all of our platforms, and everything is all there in case you didn't hear anything I just said, right? And right now we have a poll of what is the best? This is the best, and I'm forgetting if this is
movie.
What is it?
60s movie.
60s. Okay. So yes, the 60s movies there. A Sound of Music. We have Psycho. We have Mary Poppins. We have 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I'm still waking up, so if I can't talk, just ignore me. And The Great Escape. So out of one of those movies, or out of all of those movies, you have to pick which one, if you can, that you thought was the best one, right? And there's a little QR code there. So just click that with your phone and go straight to it and give us, out of those movies, which one you thought was the best, right?
Ron says The Great Escape still leads.
Great Escape is in the lead. Wow. And I honestly have not, this is crazy, but I have not, there's certain movies I've just not seen, and I've never seen that. I have never seen that movie.
I mean, it's been clearly years since I've seen it, but.
Yeah, I think I've seen the rest of them more than once. Although 2001: A Space Odyssey is a very tough watch. It's a tough watch.
I didn't watch that.
Yeah, it's I believe isn't that I don't know if that's Ridley Scott or not, and that's why it's just very there's just long shots, and the beginning of it is very like it just takes forever to get going. And
I think I started it and then just gave up. It did something else.
Yeah, there were people that when I guess they say that when that was first released in the theaters, that people actually left because they didn't know, they thought they thought the movie was broken, or they weren't sure if like they were like, is nothing happening? And so they didn't think that there was going to be a movie, and a lot of people walked out in the first kind of 5 minutes. But so that's that. And then you can also buy us a coffee at RI Broadcast. Just wanted to make sure I mentioned that as well. We love coffee, and it supports the show. So you go ahead and do that. Help us out, right? And so from here, we're gonna go into basically I just we were talking about hobbies all week, and so I just have like my own personal hobbies, and I'm a nerd, so they're going to be hobbies that you may or may not agree with. But if you know me, I don't really care if anybody likes what
Good.
I'm doing.
That's perfect.
That's been pretty much my whole life. But the stuff that first of all, the first thing I've ever gotten into as a hobby was music, and the probably oh god, I probably when I would take all of my mother's albums when I was a kid. I eventually had to have my own record player in my room. I mean, I was just like relentless where I loved music that much, and it was kind of the family stereo, but it drove my mother so crazy. She eventually stuck it in my room because you know, nobody could watch TV, nobody could do anything. And then as soon as I could in life, I wanted to go buy 45 records. Nobody's going to understand this now, but there was a time where I think maybe the top 20 45 records. And if you don't know what a 45 record is, it's actually a smaller version of a record that you would play at 45 RPM. And yeah, uh, I think we had a store called Ann and Hope, but whatever your store was, there would be a store down the street near you that would have like a top 20 for the week.
Yes.
And they would have a literal, like a wall. And it
I
would
think it was
say,
based on Casey Kasem's top.
yeah, it
Whatever.
would be that. Most likely it was probably that. Sometimes it was Billboard, but yeah, at
Oh,
some
yes.
point Casey Kasem got involved and we were following him. And it was just whatever the songs were for the week, the top 10 or the top 20 or whatever it was that the store wanted to do. And you would go in and be like, "Oh, that's my song, that's my song." So you would bother your parents for like, money, and you would save up money every week to go buy whatever it was, that song that you wanted to have, that you have to own. And I started that when I was real young. And it got into the point where, between her albums and my 45s and everything else, I just started building a collection. Um, I don't know how Casey Kasem is not in the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame.
Okay. I don't know.
He should be.
He should be, but like I don't know if it's a category thing because you got Rick Dees and you got Alan Freed and you got these guys that were radio people, and you can even throw. There's a couple of other people that have done top 40 shows. Wolf Van Jack, but major big radio guys that, for whatever reason, I think that there should be a category in. I don't know if there is because I don't like award shows. I'll be honest with you, they drive me crazy.
I don't watch them either.
And so I don't know for the Hall of Fame if there's an actual category for that. But there are several. There's a Billboard publication, or there's a radio and records publication. When I was in radio for 10 years, we have all of our own stuff like that. And so there are award shows for that are separate and apart for the radio business and all that kind of stuff. And CMS and some other types of events like that where people like that are recognized. So he did get several awards. It just wasn't, on the Hall of Fame side. So I don't know. I think category wise, maybe that has something to do with it. There's a Marconi Award and there's some other stuff like that for radio DJs that they can go up against other major DJs in the country and win. So, maybe he's got probably tons of awards like that. But yeah, we used to go to the store and do that. And then as I got older, like I said, I had a huge collection that eventually just became a collection where I started playing out, and so probably I would say at 15, no, probably 16 or 17, I started playing out in clubs. And I know nobody's going to understand that, but we had that kind of life back then, where, at least our clubs, when we were. Now you're talking about my dog. I'm like,
I didn't see a dog, so
I don't
I'm
know.
not sure what he's referencing.
Okay.
He's got an eagle eye. He's watching the background.
Maybe, but my dog's back there sleeping, I think. But yeah, so it became a thing where I had enough music that I was like, I should try to do something with this.
Good for you.
Always wanted to be a DJ. But, so yeah, I started DJing probably 16 or 17, which, like I said, I was too young to be in places DJing, but back then you could do things like that and nobody cared. We had a very large. I don't know how else to put it. We had a very large, like, sort of mafia presence around here, and so it wasn't by the book in a lot of these clubs. So you didn't have to be 21.
Mhm.
You could be 18, be 17. You could look 18, get away with it.
Yeah.
And so I did that. I started DJing at 5 or 6 nights a week for like
Wow.
60, $50, whatever. And a lot of clubs back then had their own equipment and they had their own records. And so uh, you didn't have to have as much as that stuff, and you could make all the money you needed to make and then buy stuff. And that's
Mhm.
how
Buy
a
more
lot of us
records.
got started back then. Well, buying equipment,
Yeah.
buying stuff that you could actually go out on the road and play weddings and things like that. Eventually you would buy a set, your turntables and your mixer and all that kind of stuff, and then you would start doing all that. So yeah, it just was a hobby that became a almost 40-year career, and it's been a second job for me my whole life. And so in this area, anyway, I mean, I'm one of the veterans out there, but it was a
Oh.
fun run, and it is changing now. I still do it now once in a while, but it's a different thing than it used to be when I was younger. It was a different. It's
Yeah.
not that I don't know. I feel like, of course, it's a different vibe from when I was a kid, and it was so much better when we were younger. And there's DJs out there that say, "Well, if you don't DJ on vinyl, then you're not a real DJ." And there's all that stuff going on out there, and it's like, well, I mean, we had what we had, right? And before we had what we had, people had to string together stuff that was even more rudimentary to try to do some kind of DJ job somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So what was it? Oh, was the bird by the time. The bird, is it the bird that oh, okay,
I
I'm
don't
not
know what the
sure.
bird by the time was.
No, 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 that's, it is the bird. It's, Morris Day and it's, he did that and he did Jungle Love. That's a Morris Day song.
Oh.
So I didn't realize he was saying by the band the time. I thought he was saying by the time because I wasn't sure if this was on a clock or what he was talking about. But yeah, that would have been Purple Rain. At the time that Purple Rain came out was
Mhm.
when The Bird came out because it was in that movie.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, so that's just one of my hobbies, right?
Very cool.
And I'm now considering when it is that I need to like just stop and retire. Although the guy that I got into this because I was of who was a mentor for me is still going, and he's out there, in his 60s. So
Oh.
maybe I should keep going. I don't know. Sometimes it's kind of like, well, it's a lot, and I'm not going to tell you who.
It's a
I'm not going to
secret.
tell you who, but basically, he knows who he is. He DJ'd my 16th birthday party, and he was a WBRU DJ for years. And so anyway, he's pretty big in the industry. Does a lot of stuff here, but for the most part, he is working out of Hartford, Connecticut at the moment, and that's where he lives. But so it's DJ Buck. I don't know if you've heard of DJ Buck. You may or may not have, but um, he was kind of out there before I was in the business, and so if knowing him, he would not want any of this attention. So that's why I didn't do it. But yeah, he would be the one. He and a couple of other guys were the ones that like I sort of looked up to and learned from.
They mentored you?
And yeah, in the
Yeah.
sense that and that's how it was in the business back then. You would
Yeah.
follow somebody around and they'd be like, "You want to jump on for half an hour or whatever."
Yeah.
And in that case, there were just things that I learned from him, and like I said, another couple of guys that were already out there doing stuff about how to whether it's mix or use the mic or whatever it was. And over time, you learn that. I don't know if that's happening anymore because I feel like when we were younger, we used to be able to, as kids, we were so into it that we didn't care if we had social lives. It's the weirdest thing, but all we wanted to do is like carry somebody's equipment and
That
follow them
was your
around.
social life.
A roadie,
Entertaining others
yeah.
was your social life.
But when I started like training DJs, I ran into two things. Being a female DJ, which I know it sounds like I shouldn't talk about it like that, but there was a point in time where it made a difference
Mhm.
because there were so many men out there. So when I first started to try to get into the business, I would walk into places and they'd be like, they'd say stuff to me like, yeah, 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 I'm sure I'm sure you're a DJ, honey. I'd get
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yep.
Of course, Spinderella was the girl that I looked up to as a kid, but you would almost have to DJ on the spot because when you walked into a place, people would just think you were full of it. You know, like
Yeah.
they wouldn't. So you would actually have to have like, I don't know, 10 records in the car and just walk in and throw them down and start DJing right there. Even if you brought a tape in, they wouldn't believe you. That was that kind of thing at that
Yeah.
time. And then as I started to get into the business and then say, oh, I want to pass this on. I want to train people or get people out there that want to do this. I either dealt with jealous girlfriends, which is ridiculous,
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
or I of course any female DJ that I could find that I could give any kind of help to, I would do it. But it just wasn't there wasn't a lot of that out there, especially in like the 80s. And I would either get I would either get a jealous girlfriend if it was a guy that I was trying to train, and I could have cared less about that, but that's how it was.
Hmm.
Or I would get somebody who wasn't like as serious. They just kind of would they'd make in my world, when you make a plan or you schedule something on a calendar, that's it. Like I still to this day I know people that schedule something on a calendar and either forget or they at the last minute say, oh, something else came. I don't understand that.
No, I
You're
don't
either
either.
gonna do something or you're
Yes,
not.
absolutely. You're either
So
committed or you're not.
right. And so when somebody says, "Oh, I want to learn how to DJ and blah blah blah," I'd be like, "All right, I'm gonna be here." And they'd come out. Yes, I DJ'd at Mustang Sally's. Or
Holy moly, Lena.
yeah, I was at Mustang Sally's in the late mid 90s. Yeah, because Mustang Sally's changed over
When it was
to Mardi
happening.
Gras.
You were there
And
when
I
it was
worked at Mardi
happening.
Gras as well. So I was at the Monkey Bar and I worked
Wow.
downstairs in the main room and all that other stuff. So yeah, if you were there and if you were at JR's and you were dealing with Splash at the time that they got rid of the rock and roll thing and they split the club up, I was working at Boogie Fever and my buddy was working at Splash across from the way, and I worked at Polyes's, and I think there's like a Hip Huggers I forget the club they put in the Cranston side. That was like a disco club, but I worked in there for a little while. But again, that was in the 90s. And then if you remember all of the Kent clubs, I worked in Kent. So I worked in Polyestes and I worked at Desperados and I worked at a bunch of stuff all over Massachusetts and in Boston and all those. But again, so yeah, I was there. If you saw a female DJ in the 90s, it was probably me because there was only about 2 of us or 3 of us or something at that time. Even or the late 80s, because if you worked I was at River Cafe in the late 80s. That's where I started, kind of. And Shadows, and now that goes way back. That goes way back to like 86, 85, something like that.
What was your
So
DJ
anyway,
name? Or what is your DJ name, Lena?
it's just DJ Lena. I just
Oh,
decided it would
okay.
be easy. But yeah, there you go. That's on the Cord Border in Spring. So yeah, so back in if you went to River Cafe in the 80s and there was a female, if you were anywhere and there was a female DJ at all in Providence or in Cranston or in Warwick or anywhere in Rhode Island in the 80s and 90s, it was probably me. Shauna Nas, all of that. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Anyway, yeah, so it would be frustrating to me to have somebody on a calendar that I'd say I'm gonna be here on such and such a night.
Yeah.
So be here at 8 o'clock and I'll run you through some stuff, I'll audio setup or whatever it is. And like they would either not show or they'd be late and I'd say, well, what happened? Oh, well, I had some other thing. I didn't realize it was the same night as something else. And it's kind of like, okay, well, that's not the way we do things. Like either you're gonna, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like you have to
Either
be
you're committed or
dependable.
don't waste my time.
Right. And so being dependable to me is a big thing. I mean, have I run late getting to places? Yes. Have I hit traffic? Has stuff like that happen? Yes. I'd rather be early and have way too much stuff and not need
Yes.
it than be late and not have the stuff I need. It's just the way I've always been. It makes me feel better. It just makes me feel better. It has killed me over the years to do that because it's stressful and it's backbreaking, especially when we used to carry like crates of records and the coffin. We call it the coffin with the turntables and all that stuff. It was backbreaking to do a lot of that stuff, but whatever we needed, I took because it was like what if? I was always worried about what if everywhere I went. So
Well, and you know your equipment. You know how to
Yeah,
operate it, you know exactly what the little nuances are with it, so,
right.
you
And
know.
more importantly, at some point I gave up on it, but more importantly, I was so worried about like having not having a song somebody wanted and having that to me that was like an absolute terrible thing.
Mhm.
And I didn't never want to not have something. And so like I took way too much music to events because I was worried about getting requests about
Yep,
stuff that and
especially
eventually over time it's kind of like I never play this. I know I'm never going to play this.
yeah.
There's no reason for me to bring it there, but you know what I mean?
Our
Um,
producer, Ron, says you've even played songs for him, which is very cool. This
I
is
probably have
that's
like
pretty
it,
cool.
and then
Mhm.
if you listen to CTK at all between 1994 and 2000, no, wait a minute. Yeah, 1984 and 2004, there it probably I was on the air for a while there too and did a lot of production and stuff and all that in the radio. Yep, Cat Country. Yes. So, yeah, so whatever. I have done a little bit of stuff, but yeah, it kind of was fun to get into. And there was a point in time where I was working like a 5 day I always worked a full-time job 5 days a week. And then I remember there was a time that I was working like third shift at the radio station because I had just started out, which
Mhm.
very little money, if any, but you get in there and it's how you're gonna at some point get some kind of return on your investment.
Yeah.
And I would work Sunday through Thursday because it was like a Monday through Friday, but since it was third shift, it would start like
Yeah.
Sunday into Monday.
Yeah.
And then Friday most of those days I had an afternoon gig where I was a manager for a record store. And on the weekends and probably 4 or 5 of those nights, I DJ'd. And I remember what I don't know how I
Oh,
did that,
really?
but I did. Yeah, it was crazy.
No sleep.
No, but I was in my 20s and man, it was a good time to be alive. You could just run on coffee and, Burger King and no sleep, like, weeks.
Exactly.
So it's
Yeah.
crazy. I just remember I used to have, um back in the day when I used to DJ, we got a lot of cash, and I remember just having, like, a coffee can over my sink of just
Mhm.
$900,000 just sitting there. Like, "What do I need to
Yeah.
do? Okay, I gotta go get groceries. Let's go into the can." Like, I just a lot of my gas and groceries and all that kind of stuff came from, you know,
Very cool.
tips and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that was one of the hobbies. I was gonna, go crazy with all of that. Another hobby of mine is research, and as a nerd, only really crazy nerdy people like me will understand this. That sometimes it's just fun to look things up,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have anything to do with any. There's a reason for it. Although most of the time I have a reason. I'll be walking around my house and I'll suddenly want to know about something. I'll hear something and I'll be like, what's this one detail that I don't know anything about?
Yeah.
And I'll go into a research I call rabbit hole. And it can be a 4-hour deal where I start looking at something and then something within that something is something I don't know.
Yeah.
And I put that
Or it's just
aside.
it's interesting. You're like, "Wait a minute,
Yeah.
I wanna explore this further."
But there's all
Mhm.
these like, there's a whatever. Yeah. Like something like
Right.
that. Or like I'm a curious person and I want to know about how everything works and everything is put together. Some of my favorite stuff to watch is just like how stuff is like made or what. Um, I'm just really curious about like the world and how stuff happens to be the way it is or how it ends up the way it does. So I'll go
Did
down a rabbit hole. What were you
did you
gonna
used
say?
to watch Mythbusters?
I did.
That was one of my favorite
I
shows
did.
because it taught you how things work, because there were so many theories in the world about this is this and that's that, and they'd be like,
Yes.
"Yes, it's true," or "No, it's not."
I used
Yeah,
to love that.
me
That's
too.
kind of or like a Bill Nye the Science Guy. Something like
Yeah.
that is yeah. Who really framed Roger Rabbit? But yeah, I never. It's to the point where it's kind of a sickness where and I have a friend of mine and she'll if she's watching this I don't know if she is or not but we have this thing about movies and I cannot watch a movie like just watch it. I can't watch it. I've got to look everything up while I'm watching it.
Yes.
Um,
Especially if it's uh, based on real events or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
or
no,
like,
you need to
hey,
know.
I remember that actor, and like trying to place that actor. Who is that Can't wait. Have to stop what I'm doing and look up that actor, whatever that actor's been in,
What else is he? Yeah.
all this other stuff, or the story behind something. Um, I didn't fact check MacGyver because most of that stuff, I don't think I don't know why, but I don't think I was a big fan. It
I
wasn't
wasn't
that
either.
Dean, what's his face? I never, for whatever reason, I didn't watch that show as much as a lot of people I knew did. But yeah, it's I'll be.
All
It's
of
so
me.
funny because when we watch movies, we don't care. I know nobody's gonna understand this. We don't care how it turns out. We don't care if the ending. We know the ending before we start. Like
Yeah.
we just don't care.
Right.
As a matter of fact, sometimes being neurodivergent when you watch movies, it's unsettling almost to not know what's happening. If we go through a movie and don't know what the end result is,
Okay.
because um, as people who learn, the way that I learn, I have to know how the end. What's the point of something? I gotta know what. As a matter of fact, I get into conversations with people all the time where they'll send me a message and they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Good. How are you?" And then I don't hear anything, and they're like, "So, how have you been?" And I'm kind of like, I can't talk to this person anymore because I need to know why they're. I need to know why you're getting a hold of me. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm not. It's not a rude thing.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like if I can understand what the agenda is or the end of the bottom line of the conversation,
Yeah.
then I can relax into it. But if I don't know where it's going, like my mind is constantly trying to find out what is the point.
You
I
live in
know
the
that.
question.
Yeah, I know a lot of people sort of just how you doing and how's the weather where you are and all that to connect. But with me, I have to know like kind of what is the end game here. My brain has to know that. And if I can't know that, like then I can't really have the conversation with you because I'm not paying attention.
How are you doing? Do you want to go for dinner this week?
Or whatever.
Then you
You know
can.
what I mean?
Then you can
Yeah.
relax into
Or
it. Yeah.
just like, hey, honestly, you could if you want to get a hold of me and just say straight out what you want from me,
Mhm.
I'm actually happier with that. I know a lot of people don't like that.
Yep.
So when we watch movies, it's sometimes a movie will take you on this like ride and there's twists and turns and all that. And it's just like if you don't really know what's gonna happen at the end, it's almost like this information I'm learning during the movie, that's probably really important to the plot. But because I don't know what the end result is, I don't know where to put this information that I'm getting.
Okay.
So most movies like that I have to watch 3 times because I miss a lot of the details or I don't know how to file the details as the movie's going on until the end result. And then I'm like, oh, so like an hour before this, there's a detail that made a lot of sense. And now I know why I saw it.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Anyway,
It
the
does. Yeah.
two of us will just literally, she'll say, we'll get together once a month. It's like, let's watch a movies on a Friday night or whatever. And I used to be worried about telling her because everybody's so worried about the spoiler. And so I'd be worried about telling her the spoiler. She's like, no. I'm actually not only do I not care about the spoiler, I prefer the spoiler. And I was like, oh, you're like me because everybody else is like mad because I said something to them that they like. Oh, what did you tell me for? No,
Yeah.
I'm gonna not. It's like no. The two of us, we want like the actual
Perfect.
reveal. We want the spoil, and then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, now that we know what the spoil is, now let's watch how they like roll it out. And we
Okay.
enjoy the
So
movie that way. Like
you're
it's the
going
weirdest
farther in
thing.
depth than the rest of us
I
dummies.
know.
We're just like,
I
"Ooh," and
know. Like
we
I really do think a lot of people are kind of like in the moment, and we're just not like our brains don't work like that.
Mhm.
Our brains are like, for me, if I just went and saw The Shining, in an IMAX theater. It was over the I think it was the beginning of December.
Okay.
And I've seen The Shining a million times, but I was like, okay, I want to see. I thought I was going to see something different than I did, but it's like sometimes I like to see how somebody interprets something or changes something, or if it's on a widescreen, or this was like a director's cut, so there were pieces in there that I didn't know, I hadn't seen before. I knew that
Oh,
they were
okay.
more extended than I was used to, and probably at the beginning when we first started watching The Shining, they were probably in there. I don't really know. It was a very long movie, and they had to cut it down.
Mhm.
So it was probably a good 5 or 6 minutes of extra footage that like isn't in the one that you're used to seeing. So like that's enough for me to be, oh, that's cool. That's cool. There's some things in the movie that I didn't really understand, but now I get because here's a piece of a scene that they took out
Oh, yeah.
that rolls into the thing that I saw after that I was like, what is this I'm looking at? Things like that. Is real detailed, and most people just go, can't you just enjoy the movie? Can't you just you know. And I
No,
was like,
because
nope.
you're going a lot deeper. You're going a lot
Yeah.
deeper. And some
It,
movies I just want to be entertained. Some movies I do that. I'm like, no, this
right.
doesn't. I need to know why this is happening. So I want to
Exactly.
know the end result because at the time I'm not processing the details. And
Exactly. It's the
yeah.
same thing. It's kind of like it's annoying. And
Mhm.
I know a lot of other people don't like that, and so I try not to say that to them. Uh, I hear there's extra footage in Chainsaw Massacre as well. Um, but I love the behind the scenes details of the movie, and so the behind the scenes details of that movie is that she was actually getting ripped up by like a bunch of bushes and plants and stuff like that.
Oh no.
That wasn't like makeup. It was actually she was back then. So when they did back movies back in the 60s and 70s, they didn't have like as much prop stuff as they do now,
It's a
and
lot
so
more
they
authentic.
would put the actors like through that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, she was really bleeding,
Yeah.
running through that thing, falling over into bushes and all that. That was real. And some of the it's so funny to watch The Shining now and see, like, you know what what happened to um Shelley Duvall. Like, just her, you could see her, physically could see her, like, her just having a breakdown in that movie, and you don't really know that until you
Okay.
know what went on behind the scenes, and what Stanley Kubrick did to her. And then when you start watching the movie again, you're like, I can see it. It's like clear as day that he had her in such a heightened state of whatever during the movie. She had to be so manic for so long that I think it really did mental damage to her. And you could see he had like every single scene he wanted 100 takes of or whatever, some ridiculous amount of
Oh,
takes.
that's a lot of stress. I've
And
never
there are,
watched
yeah.
any.
Oh, you never watched it?
Scary movies aren't my thing.
It's yeah. I don't know. The scary movies that I watch are probably much more graphic than this one. But this one, for its time, was pretty. And yeah,
Hmm.
anyway, he put her through hell. And there's some footage of behind the scenes where he was actually just rude and terrible to her.
Oh,
And Jack Nicholson has always said like that he couldn't stand the treatment she got. So anyway, and the only other crazy one thing that I do is I hike, and I hike at night, and I love to hike at night. So
at night.
yeah, I
Okay.
thought about it the other night. I'm like, I'm gonna end up a crone that just ends up living in the woods. I don't know, but I love the peaceful of it. I love when it's this time of year is great when it's cold
Mhm.
and um there's no people, all the trees are bare, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's nice. It's good for your lungs. It's good for your brain. It's walking through a bunch of trees. I can't explain it, but if I don't do it, I can tell that I need it. So, and my dog and I, we go. Yep, I have a Rottweiler.
Okay, well, that
So
makes a difference.
yeah, and it mostly,
Excuse me.
he's off leash. Most of the places we go, because he doesn't go anywhere. But he runs around a lot. He picks up a lot of logs and walks them around. And so if I go 3 miles on a specific night, I know he goes like 4 or 5.
Yeah,
He just runs
he's
until he gets tired,
yeah.
and he'll come back, make sure I'm okay, and then I'll go do something. I've found that there's never going to be anybody in the woods I'm gonna find. He'll find them way before I do, because
What
I've
does he
had
do
to.
when he comes across someone?
So he's a silent. I don't know about most dogs, but he's a silent dog. So if we're out at night, he doesn't make noise. He's stealth. He doesn't bark at anything. You know what I mean? He just all you can hear is his feet from running. Or you could hear him shaking. You can hear the collar every so often. But uh, he will corner a person, and you don't really see. I mean, I have a high vis vest on him, and I have like a halogen light so I can see him,
Okay.
and he's got a lit up collar. So the only thing somebody's going to see is just a collar coming at them, because you can't see the dog. You can't see a Rottweiler at night. So if there's a person in there, they'll end up with like his nose in their butt, like, and they'll hear growling. And so once or twice I've had to go find a person. I've heard him.
Yeah.
I've heard that. You hear that, and that's all you hear. And then you hear somebody go, "Nice doggy." That's all you hear, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh God, he found a person." So that's happened. Mostly that happens in the summer when people are walking around the woods at night. In the summer, they're most likely to be out.
Yeah.
But so I'll just have to go call him off, and so. But he won't hurt them, but he'll put them in a place where they can't move. and he'll just
Terrifying.
intimidate
Terrifying.
them, which is, so if anybody's going to be out there, there's two things I worry about in the woods. One, a dead body, because woods are secondary.
Mhm.
They're secondary
It's
locations.
a dumping ground. Yep.
But I know one, he'll find it way before I do, because that's how
Yep.
it works. I was walking my dog, and my dog found something, and I couldn't pull him off the scent. So I know if my dog's not doing anything out of the ordinary, then there's nothing in there. And also, what was I gonna say? If somebody's in there walking around and lurking, I won't see them, but he'll find them way before me.
Yeah.
And so if I'm walking the woods and I don't see him for a really long time, I have to go figure out why. Like, did he see it? Did he find an animal? Or what is it? What is he doing that, like, he's distracted and not
Yep.
following me? I got to go find out. Usually it could be, a dead animal or something like that. That does happen. Anyway, yes. Now that it's 11 o'clock,
Yep. And that's okay.
we're on to you, Sharon. And so, Sharon, you know what?
Okay.
Oh,
Mhm.
yes.
Go ahead.
Just tell us. Go ahead and tell us what you're going to tell us.
Okay.
I have the story. I have the list of what the stories are, and I
Okay.
want to introduce you to your story, but I don't have it in front of me. So
Not a
take it
problem.
away.
All right. So I came across this. It's a historical device that scientists really can't explain. They have a theory,
Hmm.
but they're not. I mean, they're about 90% sure, but
Okay.
they can't explain how it was built, who built it. It's really quite incredible. In
Wow.
1901, there was some sponge divers, and they were exploring a shipwreck off of a tiny Greek island,
Okay.
and they discovered a piece of technology, and it looked like nothing more than just a lump of corroded bronze. I don't know why
Yeah.
they didn't just throw it out. I don't know why they explored it further, but they did.
Hmm.
So um, it was called the anti Antikythera mechanism, an ancient Greek device capable of predicting astronomical events with stunning accuracy. So this was
Okay.
this was developed like 2,000 years ago, and it had it. They call it now the first analog computer, and it was developed in early Greece, like in
Oh, wow.
ancient times. Yeah,
This is pretty
incredible.
cool.
Yeah. So it was made out of bronze sheet, and originally it would have been in the case about the size of a shoebox, right? So I guess
Okay.
depending on how big your feet are, but mine are size 6, so a shoebox to me is about this big.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the doors of the case and the faces of the mechanism are covered with Greek inscriptions, enough of which survive to indicate clearly that the device was, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
astronomical or had a calendar purpose, right? It
Okay.
served as a calendar.
Wow.
Um, and so it's believed that it had a shaft that was hand turned,
Mm-hmm.
was connected to a crown gear and the main gear wheel, and
Okay.
it drove further gear trains. There's about 2,000 of these gear trains in there, and
Wow.
yeah, it it drove further gear trains. With each revolution of the main gear and the wheel, it corresponded to a solar year, right?
Hmm.
So one revolution
Yep. Makes
corresponded
sense.
to a year. So there was 12 revolutions, right? Or 12 different places on this thing.
Right. Hmm.
So if there was a large dial with pointers showing the position of the sun and the moon
Okay.
in the zodiac. So they
Hmm.
aligned it with the stars of the zodiac
Okay.
and made sure that it was pointed position so that the sun and the moon were always that's where the sun and the moon were going to be in that
Okay.
particular position in that year. And yeah, so it was really like extremely sophisticated, even for us now. Like seriously, could you sit down and make this? I definitely could not.
Yeah.
There's just no
Here's me
way.
with my time travel. You sure, like, an alien didn't come back from the
Well,
future and drop that thing somewhere? Yeah.
absolutely. And that's
Weird.
what I think, because they obviously had some help, because this is really sophisticated, really advanced, and incredible.
We are living in a simulation. Nobody believes me, or when well, actually, I don't know what. Oh, she said what it was called, but
This thing is called, and it's very hard to pronounce. I'm going to try it again. The Antikythera mechanism. Antikythera.
okay,
Yeah.
weird,
So
but
very,
cool.
very cool. And it also had It involved elliptic gearing and a slot and a pin mechanism to mimic subtle variations in the moon's motion across the sky. So there was 2 large dials in the back of the mechanism, and the large dial had 5-turn spiral slot with a moving pointer that showed the 235
Wow.
lunations in the Metonic cycle. It's incredible. It's
Okay,
incredible.
now you're losing me. I'm like, "What
Okay.
what what is that?"
So,
But it's cool.
um, yeah, but the cycle is about 19 years long, and it's useful
Okay.
in regulating calendars. So this was created, like, 2,000 years ago,
Wow.
and
Imagine back then when you think, like, you don't ever think nobody I mean, we know now, right? But imagine back then, like, they probably wouldn't have ever thought, like, technology would be advanced beyond where they were.
isn't it they were in some instances or some examples, they were more advanced than what we are now. They had more knowledge, and that's
I
where
believe that. That I believe.
mhm, mhm. 'Cause look at the sophisticated equipment we have right now.
Right. Well,
I I
so
can't
the
believe that any one of us would, be able to recreate this. I mean, there are okay, some
right,
scientists, let's go there. There are some scientists that yeah, that's exactly it, Ron. Yeah. It's an incredible piece of yeah, it's on the screen now. Ron's
mm,
displaying it.
yep,
An incredible piece of equipment, and, yeah. So
that's crazy. Yeah,
mhm,
so I do believe that we have, a tendency to wanna make things easy, and in
mhm.
doing so, we, lose our muscle memory
Yep.
for things that we like, although I'm not a fan of the Dewey Decimal System for social reasons and other things, just trying to if we had to go back in time, just stuff like, "Hey, can you drive a stick shift car?"
Yeah. That's what I
Uh,
learned, John.
or can there's certain things that we probably can do that newer people or children or younger
Mhm.
people don't. So it's kinda like but anyway, there's that, but then there's also, like, uh, we don't I remember my mother I always this is like my it's a funny joke, but I always think of this. My mother, when she first saw the Swiffer, was just disgusted. She was like, "That is the laziest thing I've ever seen in my life,"
Yeah.
like and now it's like a staple. So when you think about it, I mean, people still do mop and things like that, but I mean, there's certain things that we're trying to do to make our lives easier that, like, they think make us stupider, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think
Oh,
technology does it
because
sometimes.
because we if we don't use it, we lose it.
Yeah.
And that applies to our gray matter. That applies to all the neural pathways that we have going on in our brain, and if we don't exercise them regularly, I think it's what, 4 days, or there's a certain amount of time that if we don't use that particular neural pathway, it disappears.
Yeah, like,
So,
do you know
it's
anybody's phone
incredible.
number? Like, think about that.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
that's
no.
probably the
No.
first thing where we used to remember 20, 30, 40 phone numbers,
Mhm.
like it was nothing.
But we were dialing them all the time, right?
Yeah.
So we
So,
were
like, now we don't
creating
do it.
that yeah, that muscle memory, and now we don't have it because we never dial. So lots of times, actually, what I started doing was dialing people's phone numbers, so I have
Yeah.
them here, because if you lose your cell phone or for some reason you're out somewhere and
Yes.
don't have access to it, or, if you're ever in a situation where somebody says, "Who can I call for you?"
Yeah, that's
Mm,
true.
I don't know,
None
I
of
don't
us
have
would
a
have a
number for them.
number. It
Yeah,
does.
tech makes us more stupid. It really does.
It does.
And
It
then
does.
you compare that to something that they built 2,000 years ago to track the movements of the sun, the moon, the
Mhm.
planets, predict eclipses, calculate lunar cycles, and even forecast the timing of ancient Olympic games, like, all
Wow.
in
That's so yeah.
one, and we can't even remember a phone number anymore.
I know.
But they
Yeah.
but they used their gray matter, they used their brain every day to create these things.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a 5-minute creation. I mean, excuse me, with what Ron displayed on the screen,
Mhm.
that's a pretty intricate made out
Yeah.
of bronze and metal, and what tools were they using at the
Right,
time,
like, where
you
would
know?
I mean, not that they didn't have, the, ability to find metal, but, like, when you think about it, just sourcing materials back then,
Yeah,
where everything that was a part of something that they created was, they had to source somewhere and
mhm,
then import from somewhere, and
and then
so
use rudimentary tools to create it.
yeah, like,
Rudimentary by our standards.
definitely, so, I don't know. I do think that people were smarter back then, I just really
Mhm.
do. more people were interested in literature or creating literature, or and I do think that um, we're getting dumber. Like I watch just the cycles of people. Uh, Everything is a video.
Eating Tide Pods. I mean, seriously, let's
I know. I
I
don't
can't
even.
even.
I forgot about that, and
Oh, the Tide Pod
you
challenge. Are
might
you
have
being
gave I
like,
yeah,
how
it was
dumb can
weird.
you be?
I
I
don't
don't even
know, but
understand.
also I think like like the hot coffee documentary. I think sometimes things get twisted and turned around, and so kids are eating Tide Pods is a little more like what's really happening there. Are we missing some of the information? Are we getting a
Mm,
tagline that didn't include some nuance that we should know? That kind of thing.
I don't, I don't
Um,
know.
the hot coffee documentary, if nobody's seen it, is the joke about the hot coffee from McDonald's. Well, how could somebody sue McDonald's for hot coffee? They should know the coffee's hot. Well, there's way too more to it than that, and that was kind of a resulting tagline that people could use to almost smear a victim so that they
Right.
wouldn't get a
Yep.
settlement. And
Mhm.
that stuff does happen. So I always try to tell people before when something doesn't make sense, when you hear something that doesn't
Go
make
deeper.
sense, yeah, and also look at why. Look at the person telling you what's going on and what would their agenda be. Look at where the source of the information came from. Just get
Yep.
everything, because a lot of times people will rewrite a story for some
Well,
advantage, right?
and this is where I do research. If I read an article online,
Mhm.
who is supporting that article? I'm not
Right.
talking about the
Where's the
person who
money?
wrote it. Where's
Where's
the
the
money
money?
coming from? Who funds the person who wrote that article? That's so then I
Right.
go research them. Okay, so who are they, in collaboration with? And so then you understand the slant of the article and why it's slanted a certain way,
Mhm.
because the person who's supporting the person who wrote the article is in collaboration with another company, and they want to make that company look good
Yep.
because it's a you scratch my back, I'll scratch your situation.
It's a
And
web.
yeah,
Yeah.
so those are the rabbit holes that I like to go down. What's the real truth, and why is a person writing this to believed, their
Right.
perceived truth? Where's it
I
stemming
believe
from?
if you do enough research, you should be okay. I
Mhm.
think the problem with people that are believing crazy things are just like I don't know if they don't want to do research, or they're putting their faith in somebody that says they're doing research.
Yes.
But the one thing I learned being in radio stations, on air, off air, I did a lot of sales for a little while, and I did a lot of promotion and marketing. And the one thing I learned about sales and promotion and marketing is you will never hear about a product unless one, it's brand new. Two, they're losing sales.
Yeah.
Three,
But
they've improved their product. Those are only three
yeah.
reasons, because they're spending money to tell you something. So you have
Yes.
to break that down as okay, if I want to place an ad, how would I do it and get the most effect? And why am I doing it? And so I try very hard to get people to like look at the why behind everything they see,
Mhm.
and just not because if not, you'll absorb anything because it's getting thrown at you all the time.
Never blindly accept.
Right. So trust but verify all the
Mhm.
time, or whatever, you cautiously optimistic or whatever you want to call it. But um, I always say like if you see a sports car, I always use the Dodge Viper. Does anybody ever see a commercial for a Dodge Viper ever?
No.
Do you know why? You know what I mean?
'Cause they sold 1,000,000 of them and didn't need to
Yeah.
advertise.
They didn't need to
Mhm.
tell anybody about
Yeah.
those. So when you see a commercial, I don't care whether it's dressed up in Christmas, if it's a Lexus with a bow on it, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
You have to say to yourself, okay, why am I seeing this? Why am I seeing this? And why am I seeing this when I'm seeing it? Why am I
Yeah.
seeing it on the channel that I'm seeing it? Why am I
Mhm.
seeing it in the magazine that I'm seeing it? Why is it
Mhm.
placed in the newspaper here that I'm seeing it in this section? All of that, because all of that's behind what you're seeing every day. What is it?
Oh, there was a tail. Okay,
Oh,
so
oh, yes, I was talking.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not the dog. He's on the floor and he's mad because he's trying to bark at somebody outside, and I told him to shut up because I'm trying to do this. But so that's the thing. The reason for advertising, if you ever get a chance to look into actual marketing and
I took
advertising and what's
I took
behind
some
the
marketing
scenes,
courses. Yeah.
yeah, that stuff is
Mhm.
fascinating to me.
Mhm.
It is fascinating. So, yeah, it's
All the you wanna talk about psychologically profiling.
oh yeah.
The police
Well.
The police academy has nothing on marketers.
No, not at all. I mean,
Marketing companies, yeah, exactly.
it's every
Mhm.
year, and when I we're rolling into Halloween, we're rolling into here we go again. We're rolling into Valentine's Day, and so I always say to people, or between whatever it is, Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day, there's like people that are upset that they're single, and they're
Yeah,
upset that, and it's kind of like, do you understand why you're upset? I know that you would never think that somebody outside of you would have planted that in your head, but
right.
really, it's all a marketing scheme because you are more of a purchasing power when you're a couple. And
Oh,
so couples are the norm as far as marketing is concerned. So they gear all their marketing towards couples.
mhm.
And somehow or other, they can make people that are not couples feel like that's wrong.
Well, again,
You know?
psychological profiling is subtle, words, and it can be product placement in the back. There's so
Yes.
many things that they do
Everything.
to
Yep.
mess with our subconscious mind and make us feel exactly the way they want us
Yep.
to feel because they've been studying this and honing it for God,
I
years
know.
and years and
And look at
years.
all the money. Like, look at these companies that can buy and the purchasing power they have. Imagine how much money they have for research. And if you ever get a chance to look into MK Ultra, that's always so fun. That's also a lot of fun.
That's a whole other
And
rabbit
we're not
show.
going to get into that.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's so much behind things that you think you know. Is all I'm
but you
saying.
don't.
That's all
Mhm.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Anyways,
I don't know if we want to go into my second story or if people are. I don't
up
know
to
where
you.
we're
I've
at
got
with
20
that.
minutes.
Okay. Well, I can do it in 10, 15.
Okay.
Okay, so my my second story is like just digital detective work, and you got into it a little bit with people online
Mhm.
and how there are people that want to follow crimes or try to solve crimes from groups and things like that. And we live in an age where images travel like kind of faster than what's going on outside of that. And every photo, every clip, every post carries more information than we realize.
Yep.
And for a growing number of people, learning how to read that information is a hobby. So there's people that have a hobby of taking a photograph and breaking down everything about that photograph to find out what's behind it, right? Um,
Wow,
not about
that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, not about spying on people so much, but it's about literacy. So how anything came to be, especially in a digital world, what's crazy to me is that like I keep saying, why do people commit crimes anymore? Like I don't know what they're bothering for. I just really don't know. Between
We get caught.
triangulation and phone pinging and uh at this point, whatever they're calling, I can't remember the name of them right now, but the cameras that are just like all over the place picking up license
Oh,
plates
yeah.
and picking
Mhm.
up people's faces and like all that kind of stuff. On top of the DNA between the DNA that we have and Othram, Othram's like a hero to me right now. Like Othram is
What's
solving crime.
awesome.
Othram is they're out of Texas. There's a guy by the name of David Middleman and his wife. They are able somehow or other they figured out how to get a very small sample of DNA, no matter how much it's been in water, no matter how much it's been in the elements, and take a very small sample of that and test it. Then
Wow.
it's they use reverse genealogy. That's how they found the Golden State Killer, and that's how
Wow.
they found Brian Kohlberger, I believe. Um,
Okay.
so all these that's why I'm saying all these crimes that we were worrying about for like 50 years, 60 years, 100 years they're gonna get solved in our lifetime, which is very crazy
Yeah.
because they can now take something from the 1950s
And
and
who are these
test it.
people again?
Othram,
From
Othram,
from okay.
incorporated. And like I said, I know they're out of Texas, but I can't remember what area of Texas they're from. Or I don't know, but it's a husband and wife team,
Mhm.
and they've just found a way to use because what happened with DNA was you would take DNA off of something, you would make sure that it was not contaminated, you would seal it, and you would put it on a shelf as the cops were going to a crime scene. They would do this.
Mhm.
And then that DNA had to be when it's tested. A part of that DNA would get lost. There was only so much DNA they could
Yes.
test, and then they'd have what was left over. I don't know how to explain it, but they needed to use a certain amount of that DNA to create a string
Mhm.
to test it. Two things were wrong back then. One, uh, there wasn't really a CODIS back then. There wasn't really a DNA like you couldn't enter it anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Now criminals every time they get booked, their DNA gets thrown into this database. So if somebody was already in jail or whatever, like you couldn't if you took somebody's DNA, you had to like then test it against something. And back
Hmm.
then they didn't have anything to test it against because this database wasn't built. Anyway, Othram has found a way to take such a tiny little piece of DNA and it can be in a lot worse condition to test something that like they wouldn't have been able to figure out. And they can take reverse genealogy and through your relatives and people that however it is, they could reverse your genes and find people around you that killer they're related to. And so with the Golden State Killer, they found like a niece or a nephew or something of that Golden State Killer
Hmm.
to nab him. Now, of course, he was. I don't know how old he was at that point. Othram, yeah, that's
Very
Othram
cool.
Labs. But yeah, if you get a chance to look them up, they're doing amazing work. There are some people that I know even that they have helped solve crimes for. So anyway, if you know how images and locations and data intersect, there's like a skill in navigating the modern world um, with digital imprints, I guess.
Okay.
Most digital photos contain EXIF data, and that's EXIF. So that's metadata that's embedded by the cameras in the phones, right? So
Okay.
the time of the picture, the device type that took it, the camera settings that were being used, and GPS coordinates go into the EXIF data.
Wow. Okay.
So if you explore the EXIF data, that's where your curiosity begins for a lot of these hobbyists, right? So they start by examining their own images so they can learn how much context can be shared. Because by the same token, you can also share your information with people that maybe you don't want them to know. So you start that first. And then it also, I think, makes you aware of like how much I know a lot of people don't really understand how much data and information they're giving out on a daily basis to several platforms.
Hmm.
But it builds privacy awareness, but it reveals how easily information can move beyond what's visible on the screen, right? So what metadata is when metadata is gone, geolocation and geo inference comes in, right? So when that's stripped away, the image itself becomes a puzzle,
Okay.
right? This is where the geolocation or called geospy comes in. So you road markings, vegetation, architecture, signage, color of street points can
Okay.
narrow down to a region or a country. Right. So this practice is about like environmental literacy. It's okay. What's in this picture? What's behind this person? What's over here? What's over here? Um, if you have any time to watch a documentary called The Stringer,
This stringer. Okay.
The Stringer is an amazing documentary, and it's about the Vietnam War and the napalm girl and that picture that was
Okay. The
taken.
picture. Yeah, because yeah. Hmm.
Oh, so I don't know if you kind of know the story behind that, but the AP used to send a bunch of people into Vietnam to take pictures on a daily basis of what was going on. And the AP would, I guess, I didn't know this, but they would hire guys called stringers within Vietnam. They'd pay them $20 or whatever. They'd send them out with a camera. Here, go take a bunch of stuff and come back, and here's $20. Now those pictures belong to us.
Hmm.
And there was a man that was a stringer that took that picture, but the AP guy that took the credit for it. And
Yes.
there's a long
The
running
Associated
story.
Press. AP
Yep.
being Associated Press.
Yes, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
Associated Press. It's been going on for like, I don't know, 50 something years. And this poor guy, like this guy got all this accolades and all this other stuff, awards and all this other stuff. And he didn't take this picture. He was on the same street and taking pictures, but he did not take that shot.
Right.
And so this documentary is about finding that guy and giving him credit. It's really, really good.
Good. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's this company that they use that it's called index.ngo. They're out of France, and they literally put together a digital 3D of that shot. All the people that were in the
Okay.
shot, all the photographers that were in the shot, and to prove that this guy that's taking credit for the shot could not have been standing where he was standing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
They also just did a real quick 3D of the Renee Good. So if you get a chance to check them out, it's called index.ngo, and they will take apart images and make them digital recreations and turn them,
Okay.
So anyway, that's kind of some of the stuff that you can get out of a picture that can tell you a story when you don't know what's going on, right? So that's anyway. Image
That would
triangulation
that
is
really
what
helps with AI because
yeah.
what is real anymore? Like digital, like AI is getting so good.
It
We
is.
could
It's
we can
the
do the
fingers are
show.
now getting better in
Yeah,
AI,
yeah,
and they're still getting a problem with words and text. That's still a problem in the background. If you see text that just looks like garbled
yeah.
nonsense,
You know, with
it's
AI.
typically an AI image. But it's getting harder and harder to detect that stuff. And some hobbyists go further. They'll use image triangulation, cross-referencing landmarks, angles, shadows, and terrain against maps and satellite imagery, which is pretty cool, right? It's methodical work. It's a skyline matched to a Google Earth, or a mountain ridge aligned with like an elevation data,
Mhm.
or shadow angles revealing time of day and a latitude of a location.
Yeah,
So it's not guessing. It's kind of like structured reasoning, like turning the planet into a data set, which is pretty cool. I don't know. It's just I think it's amazing to watch,
it's
right?
really cool. Very, very cool. I like your
And
hobbies, Lana.
so this isn't a hobby I
Lena.
do. This
Sorry,
is a
Lena.
hobby I love to watch and I would love to get into. It is very, very, very time consuming, but it's very interesting. And there's just a couple of examples of times I've seen people do it and I've loved to get into it. So
Mm,
I did a research, of course, on what it is.
yeah.
But there's also visual clue analysis, right? At the core of all practices is the analysis of the clues in the picture, the discipline of noticing what others don't see in the background, right? License plate formats, power poles, language on signs, clothing styles, right? Infrastructure that tells you stories if you know how to read it. Um,
Yes.
Traffic signs, anything like that. You can tell something's in Canada. You can tell something's in Europe. You can tell something's in Santa Monica, whatever,
Mhm.
based on that stuff. And then this kind of analysis trains a skepticism and attention, which is pretty cool because it's the same mindset that like journalists would have, researchers would have, and investigators have that most people don't look at when they see something, right? Then you have reverse image searching,
Mhm.
and that asks a different question. Not what is this, but where has this been before?
Or who is this?
Or who is this, right?
Mhm.
Hobbyists use that to trace viral images, expose misinformation, identify stock photography reused out of context.
Mhm.
In an era of AI generated visuals, the skill has become essential. Again, the stringer underscores this reality, showing how verification, not virality, determines the credibility of a shot. And then when hobbies become history, and I'm going to bring up a documentary called Don't F with Cats. Now, if you've not seen this documentary,
I have not.
okay. And I took a really long time to watch it because I love animals and it deals with some of that. However, there's a guy by the name of Luca Magnotta, and this is what this documentary is about. And this guy was insane. I don't know if you've ever heard of Luca
I
Magnotta.
have. Yeah.
Okay, well that documentary, it basically starts with um the first video he puts online and then how people start getting irate about stuff that they see that he's doing and they just start looking, you know what, we're going to find this jerk and all this, and how at the end of the day he did some really horrible stuff, but they were trying to warn the police for I
Mhm.
don't know how long based on stuff that they, and because when this came out it was probably 2019, and when this was happening it was like probably the mid, it was 2011 I think, or but it was like at the point where like nobody would really even talk to somebody who was looking on the internet for something because the police wouldn't have thought that that was like a legit source of anything. So
Well,
this,
and they say that if people start off, harming cats or small animals,
right,
those are the people who escalate to being serial killers. And
exactly. And in this guy, there was a whole bunch of stuff wrong with this guy. He was an attention seeker. I think he had psychological problems. There's all kinds of stuff going on with this guy, but this guy turned out to be a really horrible person. And this sleuth team was trying to alert the Toronto police.
Mhm.
Um, was it there were two or three cities in Canada that they were trying to get, was it Vancouver involved at all? But they were trying to get these police to be, hey, look at this guy, look, and for whatever reason, for a very long time, they were ahead of law enforcement with this,
Yeah.
and so uh, it was online communities that analyzed his video frame by frame. They were matching vacuum cleaners, power outlets, background details to narrow down his location. No metadata, right? Because he's nuts, but he's got enough smarts to take all that stuff out of his pictures and
Mhm.
videos. no official tools, although he did drop one with EXIF data and they found it. And it turned out to be his apartment building, but he had moved
Okay.
out, but they found where he was standing. Right. I think they are now. Like, I think
Mhm.
at some point the FBI put together some kind of digital what have you. We
Yeah.
don't really know what the FBI's situation is right now, but there was a point in
We
time when
we never know.
no.
That's the thing, we never know.
So anyway, there was no tools, there was visual reasoning, collaboration, and persistence on that case, and it demonstrated both the power and responsibility of crowdsourced digital investigation, which you were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
That same technique used as a hobby once helped identify a real world criminal, which has been Luca Magnotta. And there have been more than one because there's other cases like that where somebody does something, somebody accidentally runs across something that doesn't seem right
Yes.
and they start looking into it and they're like, wait a minute, there's a guy by the name of Nick Crowley. If you ever get a chance, it's not fun to Nick Crowley is somebody that I love and I love his videos, but unless you're into like dark stuff
Yeah, I know.
and
I
it's
can't shut it off.
if he sees something on Reddit that doesn't look right, he'll look into it. If he sees videos online that don't look right, it'll be like, what's the person behind, or he'll flag somebody. There's a couple that he's just made videos about flagging somebody about this guy's doing weird stuff, that this isn't right. And every
Yeah.
time they cut his account, he gets another one and he does the same stuff. Why isn't anybody looking at this guy? He'll do
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Okay.
Sometimes it goes nowhere. Sometimes it means something, but like he's out there trying to like get as much information as he can about stuff that just doesn't look right and somebody should like, look at twice then. So again, and he also does stories of things that have happened before. And Luca Magnotta was one of the ones that he covered for a past or whatever. But so if you bring it offline, right, geocaching, which some people
Mhm.
do, this is kind of
Mhm.
related. They take these instincts into the real world. Somebody places something somewhere, and you use GPS coordinates to locate like hidden caches placed by somebody else. So there is kind of like a hobby where people like to do that and use all that kind of stuff in order to what? No, I don't. I don't know anything. I just read stuff that I look stuff up. I don't
No.
know anything.
Your knowledge, your vast knowledge is impressive. I agree, Ron. Yes.
It's just because I'm so anyway, geocaching is pretty cool. There are people that do that for fun.
Mhm.
It
Yep.
reminds me of that what was that stupid game that everybody was playing?
Dungeons and Dragons?
No, the one where they
No?
were going out and what's the
Pokemon
name?
Go?
Pokemon Go. That
Yeah.
was it's like that.
Oh, yeah.
Where people
Ron too,
will put
Pokemon Go.
something somewhere and they'll give somebody details about where it is, and then somebody has to go look for it and find it. So that's kind of cool. There's not as much crime involved with that, but that's
No
something
crime.
that people do as a hobby.
The crime
it
is people
blends
doing it.
right. Well,
Just kidding.
it blends navigation, geography, and exploration, right? Technology becomes like a guide and not a barrier. It encourages people to read terrain and engage with physical space, which is also good for you to get out of the
Yeah.
house.
It gets the people, the cellar dwellers out of their house and,
Absolutely.
grounding
I
in
think
nature. So it's
that's
perfect.
that's the only, to me, for nerdy people that are onto computers
Mhm.
and they get into geocaching or something like that, it is at least the one benefit is it gets them out of the damn house
Yeah.
and out into the, which most people need. There's some ethics and boundaries about this, right? So what separates responsible practice from intrusion, intent, and restraint, because you have your privacy on one side and you have we need to find what's going on the other. So these hobbies focus on public information, consent-aware material, and education. Typically, that's stuff that anybody can find. So you're not pulling anything that's privacy related for somebody,
Yeah.
unless they've created a crime, in which case we don't care, right? Organizations like index.ngo, they emphasize this line clearly, right? Verification, serving truth, but not surveillance. And the goal is understanding systems, not tracking people. Not
Right.
usually, right?
Yeah.
And then taken together, all practices reflect a shift in modern curiosity, right? We're learning not just to consume images, but to question images
Yes. Stay in
in
the
a
question.
world, right? I did a whole podcast on just like question everything,
Yes.
not where you're a fanatic, but just sort of everything that you see and just kind of stand back and go for 2 minutes and go, why would I be getting this information?
Exactly.
Right. So anyway, it's a pretty cool those are some pretty cool things. And one more thing I want to bring up is Randonautica, which you're not supposed to go do. Don't go there. Don't take anything from them and but look up stories behind Randonautica because it's the weirdest thing ever. and it's a website where they like give you coordinates and they tell you to go somewhere and that something's going to happen when you get there, and it couldn't possibly be something that they would know, right? Because it's like a time travel thing, or it's ahead of time, or
What?
but a lot of people that have tried that have gotten there and something has gone down when they've gotten there, no matter what those coordinates are. And so
Okay,
now
I'd take a friend, maybe take a friend.
people have
Don't
been
go
warned, like, just don't even use Randonautica, because when you do, like, you can't explain it, but you end up right. And Nick Crowley did that. He's like,
That's
I'm going to test
fascinating.
Randonautica. I think it's BS. And he did. And he went to a corner,
Mhm.
and like an ambulance came behind him, and another ambulance came behind him. And then something happened in the apartment across from where he was standing, where he didn't know if it was a crime or what it was, but a bunch of ambulances and cop cars like descended on some place on the street he was on, and he's like, I'm telling
Holy
you, this
moly.
stuff wasn't here 5 minutes ago. This is the weirdest thing. But anyway, there's a
Okay.
suitcase crime out of Seattle that happened, and 2 Randonautica people found it, and there was a guy in it. So
Let's do
that's a
it.
long
Let's do
story.
a show on that.
Yeah, let's do
I'm
a show
into it.
on
I'm into
Randonautica.
it. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Anyway, so we are wrapping this show up. It's been a pleasure to do this. Of course, it's been a little awkward just because we're not used to it, and we haven't worked before, but together. But I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. I
We
really
had a good
enjoyed it,
time.
Lena.
So the schedule goes like this. We have Sunday, we have Kenny and Ron. And then do we have our list of who's coming up? How about we start with that? Because yeah, here we go. So next week is museum week. So we're
Very
talking
cool.
about museums and museum related
Very
what have
cool.
you. And so Kenny and Ron tomorrow. And of course, hopefully Ron has a top 5. I know he always does. So he better have one.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Monday, Sharon, you're back
Yeah, I'm
with
back. Me and
Chuck.
Chuck. Mhm.
And then Tuesday, Becky and Kyle. Wednesday, Becky and Kenny. And Thursdays, Luana and JJ. So tune in to us every morning, with the exception of Friday. We are here every single day with some very interesting information, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So we will see you tomorrow. We will see you I'll see you next Saturday, but we will see you as the show tomorrow.
Sounds great.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Lena.
We got it going on daily. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.